From the longest undersea tunnels to record-breaking solar power bases, and from data centers in the desert to an ever-expanding high-speed rail network, these are the biggest megaprojects in China's trillion-dollar transformation, the most expensive of which may cost upwards of $100 billion. At number 5, the world's longest water tunnel, which is about to become a key component of China's biggest water diversion project. For a country as big as China, water diversion is an integral part of the economy, and constant efforts are needed to balance the water resources between its vast territories. The country's south has a significant water surplus, resulting in frequent floodings, while the north faces severe water shortages. To overcome that, China has devised a south-to-north water diversion project, under which a 1,400 kilometers long open canal will divert water from the Yangtze River to northern China. Since becoming operational in 2014, the project has transferred over 50 billion cubic meters of water from the Yangtze River to northern China, benefiting over 150 million in the process. The next step in this mega transfer project is building the longest water tunnel in the world. The 195-kilometer-long Yinjiang-Buhan Tunnel will carry water from the Three Gorges Dam to the Han River, from where it will be transferred further north. Upon completion, the Yinjiang-Buhan Tunnel will overtake the 120-kilometer-long Päijänne in Finland. While the plans are in place to start construction this year, building this record-breaking tunnel will take over a decade and will cost China upwards of $9 billion. However, the project will ultimately be well worth the cost, as it will bring food production to a desert area as big as the state of Texas. At number 4, Yantai-Dalian Undersea Tunnel. The Chinese cities of Yantai and Dalian are less than 100 kilometers apart when traveling in a straight line. However, the largely enclosed Bohai Sea is in the way. The journey around the sea makes this a 1,500-kilometer trip, and it takes 8 hours to cross the waterway via a 15-year-old ferry service. But now, China is embarking on a $43 billion mega-project to overcome this problem. The Bohai Strait Undersea Tunnel will span the length of the strait and cut the journey time to just 40 minutes. With a total length of over 90 kilometers, the undersea section of the Bohai Tunnel would be longer than the combined length of the Signum Tunnel and the Channel Tunnel, which are currently the two longest undersea tunnels on the planet. While the tunnel firmly remains in the plans, it was proposed 3 decades ago. However, work has failed to commence so far because of environmental and economic concerns involved. However, decades-long delays for such challenging megaprojects are commonplace, and a similar exhausting process was observed during the construction of the Signum and Channel tunnels. As soon as the construction starts, the Bohai Tunnel will have a 10-year timeline. The spending on the project tops the Three Gorges Dam, but not even the Three Gorges comes close to the biggest megaproject featured on today's video. At number 3, high-speed rail to Tibet. Along with these impressive undersea tunnels, a high-speed rail expansion also forms a key part of China's trillion-dollar makeover. As of 2023, China already has over 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, which is twice the rest of the planet combined. However, they are now going a step further and will look to expand the infrastructure to 70,000 kilometers by 2035. The most ambitious and the most complicated of these expansions is a 1,600-kilometer line connecting the southwestern Sichuan province to the Tibetan capital Lhasa. It is one of the most complicated railway projects in the country, as the rail tracks will pass through earthquake-prone regions with altitudes reaching 3,000 meters. Hundreds of tunnels will be built along the route, with one 10-kilometer-long tunnel passing 1,200 meters below the surface in the Tibetan mountain range. The completed railway line will consist of 3 major segments, 2 of which have already been completed. Construction is currently underway on the longest section of the rail network, totaling more than 1,000 kilometers. A total of 72 tunnels will be built in this phase of the project. many of which will go beyond 30 kilometers. The Sichuan-Tibet Railway will serve as the second rail link between Tibet and western Chinese provinces after the first connection became operational in 2006. In addition to increasing connectivity, the country also hopes to promote tourism in western parts of the country. The longest segment of the rail network will also support the highest speeds, with trains capable of operating at 200 kilometers per hour. At this rate, the megaproject will reduce travel times between the two regions from 36 to 13 hours by the end of the decade. This railway link to Tibet will cost $50 billion, still half of the budget for China's biggest megaproject. At number 2, $65 billion data centers. China's East Data West Computing Plan involves building huge data centers in far-off western provinces for internet companies based in the East. The project also carries criticism from certain quarters over its utility, as telecom companies would rather process data closer to home. The government, on the other hand, sees this as an opportunity to redistribute the perks of China's growth in the telecom sector. China has digitized at a much quicker pace than the rest of the world, which means that its carbon footprint is also increasing with every new data cluster. Therefore, moving west to cooler climates is also a necessity for Beijing. The abundance of renewable energy will also come in handy, while a remote setting will also insulate China's domestic market from external shocks. The project will set up 8 computing hubs and data center clusters as China aims to build an integrated data center system by 2025. Building these clusters won't come cheap, as they will cost more than $65 billion a year, a threefold increase from just a year ago. This greatly expensive megaproject is seen as China's way of preemptively tackling future data storage demands of a thriving tech industry. The country's big data and analytics industry will grow to $25 billion in 2025, and the data center project is an effort to be ready. However, some experts have expressed concerns about creating an oversupply and hurting investors and the local economies in the end. And at number 1, the $100 billion renewable energy in North China. China's transformation will be complete with the most ambitious push towards renewable energy ever. Inner Mongolia, an autonomous region in China, is known for its vast deserts, including the Gobi Desert. The region is also home to major sections of the Great Wall and is the biggest producer of coal in China. However, China is now spending billions of dollars to take advantage of Inner Mongolia's cheap land, frequent winds, and blazing sunshine. Construction has already begun on an unprecedented buildup of renewable energy through wind and solar power bases. The first phase of the project includes 100 gigawatts of turbines and solar panels and will be completed in a year. Construction is also underway on a 4 times bigger installation that could potentially produce twice the amount of renewable power produced in the US. The total output from these projects will ultimately be closer to the total installed renewable capacity of all of Europe. China's newfound enthusiasm towards renewables is driven by Xi Jinping's pledge to peak emissions by 2030 and a commitment to global carbon neutrality. China is investing upwards of $100 billion in its renewable energy infrastructure and hopes that it will bring a major economic boost to its underdeveloped Western regions. In commissioning these far-off farms, China is also risking escalating costs because of the transmission costs over long distances. Maintaining this massive infrastructure in remote areas will also be expensive. To achieve global superiority in renewable energy sources, the challenge that remains for China in its pursuit of climate goals is how to get rid of coal in the energy grid. A rapid transition towards renewables might just be the answer. Whatever the fate of these projects, China's megaproject spending is unlikely to cool off in the coming years. Despite the continuous warnings of an economic meltdown, China is backing its time-tested strategy of going big on billion-dollar infrastructures. What do you think of China's trillion-dollar infrastructure plan? Let us know in the comments below. Did you know that China is also home to some of the world's most fascinating bridges? These mega bridges are built in some of the world's most difficult landscapes and challenge the limits of engineering. Click this link to check out these insane structures.